and welcome to my channel. Have you ever started a new job and been frustrated by the training process or lack of it? When there's a lack of training, you usually hear people say things like, I don't know what I'm doing because they don't even have anything set up. Or, they didn't even give me a training plan. Or they say something like, there's so much to do, I don't even know where to begin because no one's training me. When we experience this as a leader, the statements we make may or may not be the same, but the frustration is equal. Now, if you've always started a new job where everything was well organized and structured and in place when it came to your training, and when you started they helped you get acclimated to your team and with your new employees, then this video may not be for you. However, if this has happened to you and you're a leader who wants to know how to ask for help when you need it and how to communicate your training needs when you're new to leading a team on the job, then this is the video for you. So stay tuned. I'm Jaboria and welcome to the best place for new and emerging leaders who want help with challenging conversations in the workplace. When it comes to getting used to a new work environment when we're brand new on the job, it can leave us with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. So it's understandable that it can be a bit of a letdown when you report to your first day of work and things are more than a bit unorganized. And the problem only gets worse when several weeks or even a few months pass and you're still not acclimated to your new role and you don't know what's expected of you. This may leave you feeling uncertain as to how to go about communicating all of the things that you want to learn and know during those first few weeks and months. In these kinds of situations, many of us tend to ride the wave and play the waiting game in terms of discovering what the new employer wants us to do in our new role. And I'm not saying that this is necessarily a bad thing. It's normal to want to follow your employer's lead until you can kind of gauge what's expected and kind of piece things together. In this scenario that I'm describing, there's usually no job training plan, and outside of what's outlined in the job description, there's little to no structured training process in place. And more often than not in this scenario, you have absolutely no idea how or where to begin in getting acclimated to your team and your new workplace. Some of us naturally become frustrated by this kind of unstructured new hire job orientation. For those of us who need a more structured training process when we start a new job, it can be more than a little aggravating. And because that's true, it's good that you're here, because this channel is all about helping leaders communicate effectively. And in this video, I plan to share a few tips that'll set you up for success so that you can professionally and effectively communicate your training needs when you're new and leading a team. Right off the bat, let's face it. As a people leader, what training looks like for you will be different from what training looks like for the average direct report who does not supervise people. This is because you're now in the big leagues. And when you're promoted to or you acquire positions and higher levels of leadership, you're expected to show up with certain developed skill sets. This means that training for you would look more like becoming acclimated to the new work environment, along with ensuring that you understand the company's mission. This will help you to effectively manage your team so that you're successful in carrying it out. It could also look like understanding your role within the new company and the processes that are specific to the organization so that you can utilize your transferable skills. So for the purposes of this video, acclimating yourself as a new leader to the new work environment and to your new team will be referred to as training. No matter what you call it, training or becoming acclimated, the point is, as a new hire, you want to come across as competent and capable, and you need some help doing that in a new workplace. This means that if you hadn't had to communicate your training needs in this way before, it could prove challenging. So if you felt uncertain about it, that's completely normal. So here's what you do. Let's get into it. Tip number 1, request one-on-one FaceTime. In busy organizations where the motto is usually jump in feet first, or either sink or swim, what often happens on the first day is that they introduce you around, point you to your new office, and they stick you with a manual. And that may be fine in many instances because you're expected to do some independent learning. But if you're the type of person whose learning style doesn't particularly match this, or you want to get the lay of the land, so to speak, you may want to request to schedule some time to meet with your new supervisor so that you'll know what he's expecting of you or she's expecting of you in the coming weeks and months. To accomplish this, you'll want to politely and non-aggressively assert your need for FaceTime with your new supervisor. Now, I know that some of you might hear this and think, well, I don't want to be pushy and I don't want it to reflect poorly on me. My response to this, well, you don't have to be. It's all about how you communicate your request, and we'll get into that next. The point that I want to drive home is that as a leader, it's important for you to request FaceTime if you need it, because you share in the responsibility for ensuring the success of your own training. I can't stress enough the importance of asking for help at work when you need it, especially when it comes to your training. It's really not enough to say things like, my boss is too busy, or I don't want to bother him or them or her. If you're not getting what you need as a leader, it's your responsibility to assert yourself and ask for what you need. And yes, it's true that anybody that you need assistance from is going to be busy. That's a reality. And I'm sure that's the reason why they hired you, because there's a lot of work to do. So it's up to you to communicate that you need one-on-one individual FaceTime in order to be successful. And that can be done politely. You can request to establish a regularly scheduled standing meeting. It could be something as simple as asking how often your new supervisor would like to schedule one-on-one update meetings with you. This could look like meeting once a month, once every 2 weeks, or a regular weekly standing meeting. Now, if you're afraid to seem too pushy as a new employee, I totally get it. And here's what you can do. Take it a step further by quickly explaining why you want to meet regularly. You could explain that the meetings will not only allow you to provide regular updates to your supervisor about your team's progress, but you could also explain that the scheduled meetings will also ensure that you're on the same page with your boss's vision by providing you both with regular check-in opportunities. The first few meetings shouldn't take too long because you want to send the message that you value your supervisor's time and you're not trying to impose on it. Depending upon the nature of your industry, 30 to 45 minutes or so to start out should be fine, but you should work with your new leader to determine what the time frame should be. If you communicate in this way, you should be able to schedule the briefing meeting within the first few days of employment. Now, when you have your first few meetings, make sure that you ask questions that will ensure that you are clear about your supervisor's expectations of you in your new role. You may also want to focus on asking questions that will help you to connect with your new team. For example, you might ask your supervisor if there are specific challenges that you may be faced with in the coming weeks or months. It's also a good time to review upcoming projects or impending deadlines so that you'll be sure to be aware of it. During that meeting, it'll be the perfect time to discuss initial projects. You can also discuss what your leadership needs are to be sure that you're at your best to accomplish those goals. Here are the few of the benefits of doing this. A, you'll demonstrate that you're willing to seek information to be successful in your new job instead of waiting for everything to be handed to you. B, you will demonstrate your thoughtfulness in terms of thinking ahead about the important aspects of your new role. C, you will show that you're an active participant in your training and that you want to engage with your new leader. By requesting the scheduled time to meet regularly and discuss both initial and ongoing expectations, this will show your new senior leader that you are both conscientious and proactive. Trust me, you'll win major brownie points. So I know that was a lot of information that I included in this one tip. So be sure to click the save button so that you can watch the video again later and catch the key points. Or I'll try to list the main talking points by numbered tips somewhere on either side of me so that you can find it on the replay. If what I've shared so far has been helpful to you, don't forget to hit the like button. Let's move on to the next tip. Tip number 2, observe your new work environment. It's important to take the lay of the land through observation before saying anything. You want to get to know the org culture in the early days. The power of observation will allow you to take stock of the workplace dynamics and the reporting structure. Paying close attention to non-verbal cues could potentially teach you more about your new surroundings than you might think at first. Simple things like paying attention to your new leader's communication style will give you insight on how best to communicate your needs. It may be as simple as watching how he or she or they structure or conduct the first few meetings that you attend together so that you can observe how the leader interacts with the existing team. The power of good observation will inform your communication methods more than you can predict otherwise. And because this channel is all about helping new leaders communicate effectively, it's also important to emphasize that communication preceded by observation can be a very powerful tool. If this is something that you've done, let me know in the comments below some of the things that you were able to take stock of on a new job by just observing. Let's move to the next tip. Tip number 3. Take the initiative to ask your boss what their preferred communication method or medium is. Because there are many different forms of communication, it's important to quickly learn which method or medium your leader prefers. If your leader documents a lot using email, or if your leader prefers memos for quarterly updates, this is something that you'll want to get to know. Some leaders use good Yell mail, while others may not like it as much. And if you don't know, Yell mail is when you talk across cubicle walls or stop for a chat outside office doors. You may also want to ask your leader to review past reports, memos, or project summaries, or other relevant work-related materials. This will serve 2 purposes. It will provide context for the work that you're about to be a part of, and it will allow you to pattern your emails using the format that's been established for that project or task. If your leader prefers a less formal style, by asking good questions, you'll be able to tailor your communication methods to that. You might also take the opportunity to talk about what your learning style is and the best way for you to absorb information. That'll prove helpful as your leader gets to know you. If you don't know what your learning style is, then it may benefit you to do some self-discovery and research different learning styles and take the time needed to discover what your unique style is. Let me know in the comments below what your preferred communication style is. I'm interested in knowing that because we might have that in common. So leave a comment below. You can also ask your new supervisor what his or her or their leadership approach is. For example, it could be a good idea to discover if your supervisor prefers a more structured, formal, business-like approach when leading the team. Or does your leader prefer an atmosphere that's more laid back and informal? You could also ask if a combined approach that's slightly more team-centered is preferred. There are many possibilities, and this will go a long way in building rapport with your supervisor and also with your new team. Whenever possible, you want to ensure that your approach aligns with the company's philosophy. So pay special attention to that. Tip number 4. Take steps to learn about the organizational culture. It's important to know what the company's mission, vision, and values are, and why they are. It's important to get to know the why of the mission and vision, as you'll be expected to align your leadership style with both. Understanding the company's values or guiding principle will also be important. This is because your leadership will be governed by this, and you'll also be expected to hold your team accountable for this as well. Tip number 5. Make time to get to know your team. An important part of your job is also getting to know your team. This could be as simple as scheduling time to shadow your team members by observing a few work tasks or asking about their job-specific knowledge and experience. This is what I like to call communication in action. When we communicate with those that we lead in this way, it demonstrates an appreciation and respect for their job knowledge. This also demonstrates that you are willing to listen and to learn. This will benefit you by helping you to make a strong connection with your direct reports. By doing this, you will establish a pathway toward open communication. As I mentioned before, the higher up in levels of leadership you go, our training needs will look differently because our role is different and the nature of the information that we need to access will be different. For example, a direct report may need to learn the specific steps necessary to complete a given task, while the leader will need to know things like how many units need to be produced, what are the customer service implications for completing said task, and what impact would it have on the company. It's important to note that tips mentioned in here are not by any means the only ways to communicate your training needs as a leader, but I'm sure they're definitely tips that will put you at an advantage in establishing yourself as an effective leader at the outset. These 5 tips will definitely get you up to speed quickly in acclimating yourself to your new role. So if you like this video and you know someone else who could benefit from this video, please share it. Now, if you're watching this video and you or a friend would be interested in another video that gives tips on how direct reports can communicate their training needs on a new job, let me know in the comments below. Although this channel is mainly geared towards supporting people leaders, I don't mind making a companion video if that's something that would be of interest to you. So just let me know. Be sure to subscribe and also click the notification bell if you haven't done so already so that you'll know when I post new videos each week. As always, have a great week, be kind to yourself, and thank you for watching. See you in the next one.